Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're diving into a truly fascinating piece of history by tracing the incredible 79-year journey of a man named Henry Carringer. Born in 1800 and passing in 1879, his life isn't just your standard biography. It's this perfect living window into the massive American transformation of the 19th century. I mean, just think about the sheer mind-boggling scale of national change that happened in one single lifetime. When Henry was born in 1800, Thomas Jefferson was president. The young country had just 16 states hugging the Atlantic coast, and traveling meant spending days on a horse. But by the time he passed away in 1879, America had expanded to 38 states stretching from sea to shining sea, connected by instant telegraph wires and coast-to-coast railroads. It's literally a completely different world, and Henry lived through every single bit of that transformation.
All right, let's start at the beginning. Section 1, the New American Century, growing up on the Pennsylvania frontier.
So Henry was born in Mercer County, Pennsylvania, to a Revolutionary War veteran named Martin Carringer, and he grew up in a really tight-knit German immigrant community. To understand that frontier life, just picture a typical day for 13-year-old Henry back in 1813. In the summer, his day kicked off at 4:30 in the morning. He was up milking cows, out in the fields, cutting hay with a hand scythe under a blazing sun. And in the winter, well, he was up at 6 a.m. in a freezing loft, breaking ice literally just to get drinking water, splitting massive cords of wood, and then maybe heading to a subscription school for some basic ciphering and reading. These harsh daily realities weren't just chores, right? They were these deep, character-building experiences that absolutely forged his lifelong work ethic.
Moving right along to Section 2, building a pioneer family. Sarah Feather and the Mercer Homestead.
Around 1825, a 25-year-old Henry married 21-year-old Sarah Feather, and they started their life together on a Pennsylvania farm. Over the next few decades, they achieved a simple but pretty astounding number, 10. Sarah gave birth to 10 children between 1827 and 1848. But here is the absolute miracle for the 19th century. Every single one of those 10 kids survived to adulthood. In an era where infant and child mortality rates were tragically high because of disease and just brutal frontier conditions, this was an absolute rarity. It's a huge testament to their family's resilience.
Jump to 1835, and Henry inherits 150 acres of land from his father. But it came with a catch. He had to provide and care for his elderly mother Molly until her death, which he faithfully did for 15 years. He actually had this really profound philosophy on the matter. He believed property is a trust, not just a possession, and each generation has obligations to the ones before and after. He deeply believed that owning land wasn't just about cashing in, it was about honoring your family.
And, that philosophy yielded some very tangible results. By 1850, his property value was sitting at an impressive $2,000, which is equivalent to roughly $65,000 today. Fast forward a decade to 1860, and his total value had nearly doubled to $3,800. He didn't get there through risky speculation either. He got there by treating the land like a partner, making patient, steady improvements, and totally avoiding debt.
Now, frontier life was undeniably harsh sometimes. Which brings us to Section 3, tragedy on the frontier, heartbreak and resilience.
The family endured some really deep personal losses, and they came in a devastating sequence. In April of 1848, his beloved wife Sarah died at just 44 years old, leaving Henry to manage their massive household and raise the younger kids completely alone. Then, the unimaginable happens. In December of 1862, his son and namesake Henry died at age 23 during the height of the Civil War. Just 8 years after that, in 1870, his youngest son Harvey passed away at 22.
It is so easy for us to just read historical dates and forget the actual human beings behind them. Reflecting on outliving his own children, Henry expressed, "Losing my boy Henry in December of 1862 broke something in my heart that never quite healed. It just completely anchors the sweeping history of the Civil War era in raw, genuine personal heartbreak."
Dealing with that heartache, combined with the allure of rich prairie soil, prompted a massive life pivot. Let's look at Section 4, the Great Westward Migration, moving the family to Iowa.
Get this. In 1864, at the age of 63, Harry boldly purchases 50 acres of prime Iowa farmland for $1,200. Think about the sheer audacity of that. Moving west and starting completely over in your 60s. He left the rocky, tough-to-farm soil of Pennsylvania for the rich, black prairie dirt of Iowa, mainly to be closer to his older children. It's just an amazing testament to his relentless pioneer spirit.
But the family didn't just stop in Iowa.
The 10 Carringer children basically scattered across the entire continent. Eliza and Mary headed to Boulder, Colorado. David Jackson went all the way to San Diego, California. Matilda settled up in Everett, Washington, and George and Louisa stayed in Iowa. This single family's westward expansion directly mirrors the nation's broader manifest destiny. It's like looking at the whole country's history through the lens of one family tree.
Seeing his family spread out across the map like that brought Henry a mix of awe and, well, a bit of loneliness. He noted, "We may be spread across hundreds of miles, but we're still Carringers, still bound by the love and principles that started in that Pennsylvania farmhouse. Even separated by a whole continent, those core shared values held them together."
Which brings us to our final section, a lasting pioneer legacy, the final years, and the family Bible.
Through all this distance, the Martin Carringer Family Bible was absolutely crucial. In an era way before digital records or the cloud, this was everything. It meticulously recorded births, marriages, and deaths going all the way back to the 1780s. Because of these records, it actually protected his father's Revolutionary War pension by serving as legal proof of identity. It proved inheritance rights across state lines. It basically functioned as both a legal document and a sacred family ledger, a true cultural and historical anchor for descendants spreading across the West. As we wrap up this explainer, I've got to share Henry's poignant final advice to his descendants. He said, "Change is the only thing you can count on. Work hard, treat people fairly, and above all, maintain your connections to family." That advice right there, it's the compass that guided his family from the Revolutionary War straight through to the closing of the frontier.
And that brings me to a final thought for you, the viewer. We are currently living in our own wild era of rapid technological and social transformation, changes that might honestly even rival one Henry witnessed. So, looking through the lens of Henry Carringer's incredible journey, what lasting legacy are you building for the generations that will follow? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this structured journey into our past sparks some powerful curiosity about your own future. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.